Welcome to the VAR Review, a brand new monthly show giving Scottish football fans a behind-the-scenes look at some of the big decisions made across the game, whether they're right, whether they're wrong, and how those decisions are reached. I'm delighted to say we have a very special guest in Willie Collum, the head of referees, who's made one or two big decisions himself over the years. He's going to hopefully give us the definitive answer on these and help grow our understanding of how those decisions are made. Willie, we're here at Clydesdale House. It's a pleasure to be here. How would you assess the start to the season so far from your perspective?
We're content with the start we've made, Gordon. We realised very quickly that we had to improve both on-field decision making and also decision making in the VAR. And we feel that our referees, our assistants, our match officials, our VARs, our AVARs have made a step in the right direction. Obviously we still see room for improvement and we're working week on week to improve the standards here in Scotland, whether on-field or whether in the VAR. We hope that a show like this will also give insight as to how we're making these decisions and the criteria we're using and the different elements that sit in the background that people often don't get to see.
Well, we're going to see a number of clips today. You're going to be able to hear some of the VAR audio as well. So really interesting insight from Willie and his team. Let's kick off early on in the season, Celtic Park. Hibs are the visitors and James Forrest goes down in the box. Let's take a look and see what Willie thinks.
He's lost it. APP. No, enough for me. Balls away. Corner kick. Okay,
so
corner to see
given.
I'll check it, Calm.
So,
Andrew, for me, I don't see enough contact. There's the two players
right, take it here and I'll...
Okay, bring it back to the start, please.
Okay, bring it back
And
to
give
the
me
start.
slow motion.
Kevin,
No, from there. Super slow,
delay,
please.
Just doing a check for potential penalty kick.
Right, bring it back. Super slow, please. Super slow, please. Okay, so there's no contact. Slight contact, upper body. Yep. Can you show me looking downfield, please?
Yep.
Behind the players, okay.
Behind this goal. Behind the players, okay. Sorry.
Yep, please. Zoom in. We're about to find out. Right, that's not going to give us an angle.
I'll give you it from the front of the players
right,
as well.
We're having to check several camera angles just now, Kevin, so keep delaying.
I suppose, Willie, the first obvious question is that the right decision for you? Are you satisfied with that? And then maybe just explain to us what we saw and what we heard.
So for us, Gordon, this is a correct decision for us on field. First, I'd like to talk about the on-field decision, the referee. So the referee is very dynamic in his movement in and around the penalty area there. We're coaching the referees to be more dynamic, find the right angle, try and make sure they give themselves every opportunity to get the correct decision on field. The referee moves and quickly identifies that for him there's not enough contact here for a penalty kick. It then goes to VAR and VAR need to then check the incident. The VAR, what's really good for us is that the VAR checks three angles, and importantly one of those angles don't tell them anything and the VAR quickly moves to find the right angle, which is the angle behind the goal. We can clearly see in the clip there is some upper body contact, but we have been talking about that high threshold here in Scotland now about VAR intervention and also for the on-field referee to award a penalty kick. So for us, this doesn't meet the standard or the threshold that we would expect for a penalty kick to be awarded for a foul to have taken place.
So in conclusion, an acknowledgement that there is contact, because that's what people will say, there's contact in the box, but doesn't always mean a penalty that falls into that category. We
need to be very careful that contact doesn't always equate to being a foul. So, you know, there can be normal football and contact, and for here there's definitely not enough for either the penalty to be awarded on field or for the VAR to become involved. Okay, right decision on that one, according to Willie Collum. What about this one then? Same venue, same team, Celtic, the opening weekend of the season, the visit of Kilmarnock. Let's take a look at this one.
Okay, show me it again. I think that's the exact same as earlier.
Okay. When he comes out, looks like Oakham makes himself.
Although I think he's maybe getting the ball.
I'm not in a good angle.
But it's a natural collision, isn't it?
Let them check.
Still checking.
Do you want the physio?
Can we see the free kick?
Right,
okay. So there's... Right, okay. Okay, so show me the instant again.
Yep, let him do the work. We're going to check it.
Yeah,
okay. Out, so I don't know if he's just made himself big and not moved, or if he's taken them out afterwards. In which case
so I think he's just made himself big and not moved. Don, check complete.
So same question again, ultimately. Is that the right decision? Should Celtic have had a penalty on that occasion?
We believe this is a wrong decision. We have coached the referees and the VARs that a penalty kick should have been awarded here. There's a couple of things I would like to discuss about the clip. Firstly, it's an unexpected free kick, the move, with the way the ball's chipped over the wall. It catches the on-field referee by surprise, and it's very difficult for the referee then to find an angle round that wall to be able to get a proper view of the incident, because the referee's priority at that point is if a direct shot goes in, there's a potential handball on the wall. So he's positioned himself correctly to judge that, and it then becomes a very difficult decision for him to make on field. The Celtic player clearly gets ahead, wins the ball, touches the ball past the goalkeeper, and we then think that the goalkeeper's actions are reckless. So for us, this should have been a penalty kick. An on-field review should have been requested, and the referee then asked to come to the monitor to make a judgment on this call.
What does the coaching look like then? Because there is ultimately a level of subjectivity. If the VAR or the referee doesn't think it's a penalty, what do you say? How do you ensure or try to ensure that mistake doesn't take place the next time there's an incident like that?
Firstly, we want the referees to be dynamic, to be on their toes. They need to learn from that, to expect the unexpected in a scenario like that. They need to be ready for it. And also, when it comes to the VAR, that we judged the incident earlier from that match. There was even an incident very similar to on the same match day at the Dundee derby, but we felt the previous two incidents were more natural when players come together. It's very close contact. But here what we've tried to say is that this is a reckless action by the goalkeeper. The Celtic player clearly goes past him, and then he collides with the goalkeeper. But for us, the goalkeeper causes this. It's an infringement by him and should be punished. And we've coached that to the referees and the VARs to make sure in future, if this kind of incident happens, it's punished by a penalty on field. If missed by the on-field match officials, then an on-field review.
Okay, let's take a look at the next clip, because one of the biggest areas of debate across world football clearly is handball, and the rules change and interpretation, and fans and players alike really love to debate these ones. So let's take a look at Tynecastle, opening weekend of the season, Rangers going to Hearts. Let's take a look at this one.
Decisions play on.
Are you saying it's in front of the body, Frankie? No, it's a natural position, very
Give me
similar.
point of contact.
No handball. Close to his body?
There, yep.
Close to his body, yes. Okay.
Frankie, and Nick, it's Andrew, sorry, checked and cleared. The arm is close to the body. Comes for a short distance, but it's tucked in very tight to the body.
We could probably do a full show on handballs and bring up various incidents. Talk to us about that. Again, ultimately, is it the right decision? What does the process look like? And is this different from what we've experienced in previous seasons?
So I said when I came into post, Gordon, that we had to reflect on handballs. I think there was a lack of understanding of many handballs that were awarded last season. I consulted with stakeholders. I spoke to the referees themselves. I also spoke to many coaches and managers at clubs about where they wanted to be in terms of handball. That doesn't mean I wanted to go so far that we were not listening or paying any attention to the laws of the game, because we need to find the balance. And I also spoke very openly about football understanding, you know, that people would understand why we made decisions. This for us is a very good clip. It illustrates the direction of travel. Probably last season that would have been awarded, in my opinion. But for us, the key point here is that the arm is tucked into the body. The player does not make his body bigger. If the ball doesn't hit the arm here, it's probably hitting the body, and that's key for us. You also hear the VAR using correct terminology about proximity. It's very, very close. The assistant referee does very well in here, the referee and the assistant, in terms of their communication, because they immediately go into a dialogue, and we've been encouraging the match officials on field to talk through what they're seeing, so that the VAR has a better understanding of what the on-field decision is and why that decision's been reached. And here, the assistant referee is very clear, and the referee as well, about the arm being tucked into the body. This is a clear clip for us to show the direction of travel we want to take with handball. This is not punishable for us this season moving forward.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear you say, though, that perhaps last season that would have been given, and we've obviously had issues with handball. How do you, I won't ask you for guarantees, but how do you aim for consistency then? Because it feels like on that one, people can make their peace with it and say, okay, if that's where we're going with handballs, fine, but it needs to be like that all season. How do you try and implement that?
Our high level of coaching for our match officials. We're coaching them in live sessions week on week, and they are also aware of the examples we're showing and saying this is the right decision. So as long as we're telling the referees this is our expectations through shows like this, we're trying to say here's what we're expecting moving forward. Hopefully you'll see that consistent approach. Handball is very, very difficult. Yeah. It's very subjective, but we're trying our best to clear that up when you think of the situations that arose last season.
Yeah, I suppose everyone is different, but how confident are you that ones like that, again acknowledging they're all different, ones like that will continue to not be given throughout this season?
The reason I'm confident is because in our pre-season guidelines that we showed the referees, we showed the clubs, there was examples of handballs like that were given last season. Yeah. And there in the opening day of the season, we reached the correct decision. So for me, that's a good sign for moving forward.
Okay, from one handball to another then, and interesting to hear Willie say it's not that the bar's moved so much that handballs will never be given again. So the same weekend, the pressure cooker of a Dundee derby, and I know Willie was particularly keen to get this one shown. So let's take a look and see if this one is similar or different in any way.
You're right, Gordon. I was really keen to show this. I think it's important for us to be clear about a decision like this. And for us, this was a missed handball, a punishable handball. There's a couple of elements that make it punishable. The ball firstly travels from distance. It's from a corner kick. It's not from a short distance.
That proximity thing doesn't come
in. So the proximity doesn't come in here. The Dundee player, when he jumps for the ball and the ball comes, his arm, in our opinion, is in an unnatural position. Yes, there's an argument that he's bringing his arm down, but at the very point of contact, when the ball makes contact with the arm is up and out for us, and this makes it punishable. The only change to this decision would be as if the Dundee player was jumping like this, challenging an opponent for the ball.
So if he's jostling with someone,
yes,
and he's
exactly.
holding him, that's that's understandable.
It would be more understandable. It wouldn't rule it out, but it would certainly make it more understandable and make the decision probably need to be analysed very differently. But in this scenario, the player is not challenging an opponent for the ball travels from distance, the arm is up, it's out from the body, it's unnatural for us. And again, if this is not identified on field, moving forward, we expect an on-field review and VAR intervention.
Is that where the challenges still remain then? Because you've tried to raise the bar of intervention and get that message across, but maintaining that some handballs still need to be given, and that grey area of, you know, what's too high, what's unnatural. Is there still obviously that element there of subjectivity involved?
Yeah, of course, and that's why I've emphasised there that people will say the Dundee player is bringing his arm down, but at the point of contact with the ball, the arm is clearly unnatural, and it's not jostling or jumping with an opponent, and it's come from a long distance. We expect this here to be a punishable handball moving forward, and we've coached the referees for that as well.
Okay, this next one is interesting because we spend a lot of time debating what's right and what's wrong, but process is important. How do referees and VAR officials arrive at these decisions? And this is a really important example of that. So let's take a look at this one.
APP,
potential offside,
header, and reset.
Okay, let's
APP.
Go get a foul.
Okay.
Okay.
We just check
foul
that
given
through.
on field.
On field, right, just tell them we're checking it.
I have to delay.
Just delay. We're going to check that.
Because it's far, because if I'm wrong here, I go to screen. I have to delay.
Okay.
Point of contact.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Lads, go in. Cyril. Thank you. I'll give the shot away. Go away. Rabbi. Cyril.
So the St Johnstone player stands in him.
Thank you. Go away.
Nina, Dessers doesn't do anything wrong for me.
Rabbi.
Matthew, just confirm what you've seen there, please.
I need to talk now. Be quiet. For me, it goes through and he catches the defender as the defender kind of turns.
Okay, so I can show him evidence that doesn't suggest that. Matthew, it's Greg.
Yeah.
I'm going to recommend an on-field review for awarding the goal.
Okay.
If you make your way to take the signal, make your way to the screen.
Willie, an interesting one, because a bit less about is that the right or wrong decision, and a bit more about how was that arrived at. We talk process, body language, use of whistle. Talk us through that one from your perspective.
So the starting point for us is we coach the referee here and the referees generally about good body language. And here the referee probably doesn't display good body language, because his body language, when the challenge is made in the edge of the penalty area, is everything is edging towards a free kick, body language-wise. However, even though his body language is showing that, he correctly delays a whistle. He correctly communicates so that the VAR is aware of what he intends doing if a goal is scored. And when the ball hits the net, he then blows the whistle for what he deems to be a defensive free kick, punishing the Rangers player for a challenge. The VAR then go into a check, of course, and they quickly come to a conclusion after accessing the correct angles that, in fact, there is no infringement. I would also say this is a normal footballing contact. Some people have said to me, well, would it have been a penalty if the attacker had gone down?
Yeah.
For me, this is normal footballing contact. It would have been play on. Nobody does anything wrong, even though there's contact. But the VAR checks and they realise that the Rangers player has not committed a foul, and therefore they recommend an on-field review for the referee to assess that, to come to the screen and have another look. The check takes quite long because there's also a tight offside in the build-up, and the VAR needs to make sure they get that right. We would like that check, though, to be quicker. We would like the check of the attacking phase of play, the potential offside, as the referee comes to the monitor to speed things up. We know it can seem very slow, so we're looking at ways that we can speed that up. But ultimately for us, apart from the body language, in terms of the whistle, in terms of the delay, in terms of the communication with the VAR, the correct process was followed, and ultimately for us, the correct decision was reached in the end. This
was obviously a big talking point because St Johnstone players said they heard the whistle or thought they heard the whistle. I take it you're completely satisfied. What is that, by listening to the audio? How does that work? You're satisfied ultimately that there was no whistle there and that was the correct outcome?
The reason I'm more than satisfied, Gordon, is there's two aspects to this. Firstly, we can hear the audio and we hear when the whistle goes. And if the whistle had gone prior to the ball going into the net, it would have been impossible for the referee to speak at that time because he'd be blowing the whistle. But you clearly hear the match referee indicating by voice what he's going to do. So for us, it's absolutely clear the whistle is blown after the goal is scored. Very importantly for this as well, some people said if the referee thinks it's a foul, he should blow immediately there. That is absolutely against the protocol. And for us, if the referee blows his whistle at the point where he thinks a foul happens, and then immediately the shot is struck and goes into goal, it's a disaster for us because it goes against protocol.
Just on the whole body language thing, that reminds you of that phrase that you heard, always play to the whistle sort of thing. Just for the avoidance of doubt, is that the definitive signal that something's happened? People may be saying, well, yeah, but the referee's body language or gesturing, it might cause a St Johnstone defender to stop. Does that come into account?
I understand that, but I also would compare it to occasionally an assistant referee will give an incorrect flag.
But you have to ignore it.
And just because people may stop, it's impossible for the referee to accept an incorrect flag. Yep. So that would be another scenario where we would tell people it's best to play to the whistle rather than play to a signal.
Again then, from a sort of coaching perspective, how do you go about trying to ensure that the wrong hand signal isn't made or body language? That seems like quite a difficult one to iron out.
We spoke to the referee at great length. We've spoken to the other referees at great length about this clip as well and how that it's important to control your body language. But I think what's happened here for the referee, he's already has in his mind, he's correctly delaying the whistle, but he's already made his mind up he's going to give a free kick. So as soon as the ball hits the net, he's given the foul. But I think his body language has almost preempted that, and maybe even subconsciously. But what I would like to make sure I get my point across, we've coached the referee, this is what we don't want, and it'd be better for us if he makes no signal at all and waits to make that signal after he's blown the whistle.
Yeah, I think an important point, though, as you say, about delaying the whistle is the right thing to do ultimately.
Absolutely.
So you're a quirk of body language away from that actually being a fairly perfect use of VAR. Is that fair?
I think that's very fair. We would definitely be critical of the referee in terms of body language, but everything else in the process, including the outcome and the final decision, we're really pleased with.
Okay, quite a lot in there about APP, as you might hear, if you're wondering what that is, the attacking phase of play, a hugely important consideration when we talk about VAR process and how decisions are made. So let's take a look at another one also involving Rangers, Ross County, the opponent this time, and see what we think of this one.
Deflection, play, good tackle.
That's fine. Okay, thank you. So reset just now.
Played the ball, he's played the ball, he's played the ball, he's got all of the ball. He's played the ball.
It's not. So we'll reset for that. Reset for that.
Happy with that, yeah.
I'm happy with that. It's not much more than that for us. So impact the players not much. So we'll do the APP again here.
He's played the ball, 3! A huge touching the ball.
Yeah, I'll do the APP.
Yep.
Just be careful. So on-field decisions a goal.
Goal number 9.
Yep.
Ultimately, Rangers score. Ross County feel there was a foul prior to that. Was there a foul, and should that goal therefore have been disallowed? Talk to us about this APP, attacking phase of play.
So it's a really important clip for us, Gordon. Key messages in this clip. Firstly, it's a clear foul for me. The referee has missed on field. It's a reckless tackle by the Rangers player. He catches a Ross County player. You'll hear the referee saying that the ball's been won, but the ball's not been won. Again, we've coached the referee about finding the right angle, trying to find the right position, because when something happens at a split second, it can be easy to think that the ball has been touched. But for us in this case, and you can clearly see in TV review, the ball's not been touched. If that player then takes possession of a ball, a Rangers player takes possession of the ball, immediately goes upfield, there's maybe 1 or 2 passes and a goal is scored, then we would consider this in the attacking phase of play. However, when you look at this clip, there are a lot of passes made, some coming back the way. We would encourage the VAR. The VAR did it in this game to reset the APP. And the reason we're asking for the APP to be reset, VAR is not there to re-referee the match. So for us, the tackle is missed. It should have been a foul, but this does not constitute the APP.
But communication must be important there then. Everybody needs to know when that APP, attacking phase of play, starts.
And you can clearly hear the VAR, and we're very happy with the VAR saying reset on new APP. And that's important for us, that that continual process takes place. There's far too many passes. It's not, you don't always go by a time judgment, but there's a long time passes here. And it's important then, if we go back to that, where do you draw the line? Where would you say, you know, was that in that attacking phase of play? It would needed to have been more direct for us.
So almost just that sense you get that this is an attack starting, ultimately. Not a hard, fast 20 seconds, 30 seconds.
No, there's many passes. They're going across field, back the way. You know, the VAR is resetting it. So that then means that foul almost becomes irrelevant.
Now, a real component of VAR is that it's not meant to re-referee the games, and I know that's a frustration. Fans and managers and players maybe sometimes feel like that does happen. Let's take a look at this one involving Kilmarnock at home. Again, this is about process and not always re-refereeing, being there to help the referee ultimately, but not re-refereeing the game. Let's take a look at this one.
Check it for me, John.
Delay, Chris. We're checking penalty area decision.
Okay. Chris, can you talk me through your decision, please, mate?
And Danny Armstrong falls to his knees under no real contact there for me.
Okay, right. So, David, what I'm seeing is a clear foul on Danny Armstrong with the leg on the heel, okay?
Yep.
However, I think it's outside.
Looks outside, yep.
Okay,
Have we got another camera? This one.
So I need the point of contact on the challenge.
Don't we get the point of contact?
It's, I go back a bit, mate. I go back and get the point of contact for me. So it's there, okay?
See that? Can we see that on the high behind?
Aye, I've got. It's clearly outside.
Yeah, so no intervention.
Therefore, there's no intervention, and I'm going to explain that to him so he can explain to the captain. So it would be a free kick, but it's outside the penalty area, and therefore we can't get involved in the decision. Stays the same. Chris, it's not going to be an on-field review, mate. The decision will stand on the field that there was contact with the foot on the back of the heel of Danny Armstrong, but it was outside the penalty area. it was outside the penalty area. So if you need to explain it to the captain, you can do. But decision stands. Okay.
It's important, I guess, then to try and understand what is it that VAR can and can't do. I guess there's protocol in place. I know people will like to blame you for everything, but there's stuff that is just standard the world over when we're talking about VAR. What can and can't it do in that instance?
So this clip's a wrong decision on field. A player is incorrectly yellow carded for simulation. Immediately the VAR go into a check, and the VAR is very thorough in checking where the infringement is taking place. He immediately finds the point of contact, which is on the left foot, which is clearly outside the box. It is a foul, it is a trip. And when the VAR sees that it's outside the box, it's impossible for the VAR to become involved there. It's a quirk in the protocol that if this decision had been a metre further and inside the box and the referee given simulation, it could have been overturned to a penalty kick and the card rescinded. But because it's outside the box, it's impossible, because the VAR protocol is very, very clear that you can't get involved in a decision like that outside the box.
So ultimately, you've got sympathy with the Kilmarnock player. You think that is the wrong decision.
I think it's the wrong decision.
But hands are tied a bit in terms of how you can fix that.
Hands are tied. It's impossible for us to fix it with VAR. We obviously analyse the clip to make sure the VAR goes through the correct process, in particular about finding the right angles and making sure they analyse everything about the incident. But for us, the big coaching point here is for the match referee. We want the referee, again, back to what I've said about being dynamic in and around that penalty area, getting the absolute best viewing angle, and to make sure that we do our very best to give ourselves a possibility in not making an error like this in a match. But for us, wrong decision, but in terms of VAR protocol, absolutely spot on.
And so then the only consideration then becomes, is it in or outside the box? Is that why the referee's not called to the monitor? Because that's a factual decision. He's not asked to go and assess whether that's the case.
It's not possible for the VAR to bring him to the monitor because the foul was outside the box. So it's not possible. Even if a yellow card's given, it's still not possible. What the VAR does very well, though, is explains what's happened to the referee, and then in the new captain approach that we've adopted this season, the referee then takes the time to go and speak to the captain to explain the decision. It's difficult for the team because they've been given a yellow card for simulation that's wrong, but everybody, including the on-field officials, at that point their hands are tied.
Okay, so we're hoping that VAR doesn't re-referee games, but ultimately it is there then to get involved at other times and try and help the refereeing team come to the right decision in the end. So let's take a look at this one between Aberdeen and Kilmarnock and see how this one differs to what we've seen already.
Show me that tackle, please.
I've got live. On-field decision, yellow card.
Full serious foul play, delay. Okay, so
Thank you. Game, deal with this. Too many players.
I'm seeing contact is above the ankle and on the shin. Yeah, so point of contact is on the shin. Give me it now. I want to see the overall action and intensity of the player.
You're possibly right, buddy. You're possibly right. You're right.
2 feet off the ground, Nick.
Yeah. 2 feet off the ground, lunging in, contact above the ankle. Play it again for me. I want to just be sure of the intensity here. So Dan, what I'm seeing is a lunge above the ankle, high force, endangering safety. Okay.
Yep.
I'm going to go on field review. Are you comfortable?
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah, okay. Matthew, it's Nick. I'm going to recommend an on-field review for possible serious foul play.
Okay, so I'll show just full speed.
Matthew, when you get there, you're going to see the point of contact is above ankle and the player lunges in at high speed. Let me know when you're at the screen. Okay,
these are ones that will always cause debate. Round and round we could go on this. To kick us off, is that the right decision in the end? Is that a sending off?
For us, this is a red card for serious foul play. We are happy that the VAR suggested an on-field review and that the card was overturned from yellow to red.
What makes it red then? We hear endangering opponent, excessive force. Does it have to tick all those boxes? Which ones does it tick for you?
We think there's speed here. The player, we don't think the player is in complete control of his actions after the ball's knocked ahead. We think that the point of contact is high. It's on the shin, and therefore it endangers the safety of the opponent. What we really like about this clip from a VAR point of view is that the VAR again is very forensic, very calm, very composed, goes through everything, starts to talk about criteria to make sure that he's in the right area in terms of what might constitute a red card tackle. And eventually when the referee is sent to the monitor as well, it's really important that the referee doesn't appear at the monitor and sees a still image, because in a still image it's very easy to make anything look like a red card. What happens first is that the VAR plays it to the referee at full speed, then slowed down, a couple angles, then there's a point of contact as well, because ultimately the point of contact is important, and this tackle is probably too high for us.
So that's why the still image exists, because people do have an issue with that. People say you can stop anything, you can pause any contact, and it could look that it is excessive force or whatever it may be. But you're saying we do need it, but it just needs to come at the right time and maybe not have too much emphasis placed on it. How do you strike that balance?
Yeah, if you show a still image at the first thing the referee sees at the monitor, it's very difficult. It's a point of no return. So that's why we've been encouraging the referees to show full speed, then slowed down, show it as well from different angles as the VAR did here. And then eventually in a tackle like this, of course, we need to judge point of contact. It's one of the criteria. And for us, it's too high. It's high, it's on the shin. If the tackle had been lower, there would be elements to support the yellow card. It would be difficult for the VAR to intervene, but the tackle's too high for us. And we think the whole process here in its entirety is handled correctly. Of course, though, we're coaching our referees to try and get these decisions correct on field. And we want the referees to be able to call this as a red card on field rather than going to the monitor.
You can see the body language of some of the Aberdeen players, though, should play have been allowed to continue. They feel they're through, and yes, they get the numerical advantage thereafter, but should they have had the chance to go through and goal before that?
I think, Gordon, when you see it, when the cut runs almost a second in football is not a long time, and it very quickly moves and it looks like an advantage. But when the initial tackle goes in, the ball actually comes back the way, and probably the referee is just focused in dealing with that incident as well. When a tackle happens like that, the referee deems it reckless. There's always the danger of some kind of retaliation or a mass confrontation. So probably for us, the referee immediately moves to solve that problem by quickly showing the yellow card. With hindsight, if you look at the bigger picture, there is the potential for an advantage. What I would say, if a referee decides on field for a red card, it would be very unusual to ever play an advantage in a red card situation unless you're almost guaranteeing that a player's going to score a goal.
Well, that's us. That brings to an end our first VAR review. Thank you very much to Willie Collum for his insight and his explanations. I'm sure you found it all very beneficial, and you might not agree with the decisions. That's the beauty of football. But now we know a bit more about the processes and how those decisions are reached. We're going to do this again. We're going to do it throughout the season and look back on the big talking points and again try and grow that understanding together. In the meantime, thanks for watching.